I'm Bill,
I'm Dan.
and we have a great show for you today. We have a friend of the counties, both counties, in the case of New Hanover and Brunswick, and a member of the General Assembly, Representative Charlie Miller from the 19th District is going to be with us. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, Bill. How are y'all?
It's good to have you here.
Good to be here.
It is always, you've done an awful lot in the short time you've been there with helping out the beach communities on both sides of the water. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the beach communities I cover, District 19 covers from Holden Beach down to Southport and across the river to the southern beaches in New Hanover County, Curry, Carolina Beach, and down to the ports. And we've done a lot of work with those towns this past session and my first session, actually. We're very successful. My first session, I've been a freshman legislator to be able to bring back about $82 million to our district. This session, between myself and Senator Rabin and Senator Lee over in New Hanover and Representative Eiler, we've brought back well over $200 million to the coast of Brunswick and New Hanover County. So we're very proud of that. And it's going to fund a lot of projects. I was in Carolina Beach this past Wednesday night at a campaign event, and just around the corner was $1 million park that I'd funded in my first session, the Brandy Myers Memorial Park, and it's almost complete. And I'm just really excited for the town of Carolina Beach to have that park, and amongst other projects, dredging and beach renourishment, stuff of that nature. We've done a lot of work.
Charlie, I know it's how difficult it is to represent two districts, two counties, if you will.
The first time I ran 3 years ago, I felt like I was known a heck of a lot better than I was known in New Hanover County. And, being with the sheriff's office for so long and being on the school board in Brunswick for 14 years prior to this, I pretty known being from Southport. So I had to work really hard in New Hanover County, and I'm telling you, those folks have been phenomenal. They've embraced me. I've got, I told some folks at the event the other night, I said, whenever I'm not a representative, I've made a lot of friends here. So y'all have got me for life. And, we just have a lot of good friends that have embraced me and my wife and our campaign and support us very well in Hanover County.
Charlie, what's the biggest difference that you see between the two counties? Because I'm a New Hanoverite, and Bill is a Brunswickite. And I'm sure there's a lot of similarities, but what would be like one or two differences that you see, just out of curiosity?
I don't know there's really a whole lot of differences. Their needs are the same as the needs of the infrastructure, the beaches. It's one of the biggest differences, I guess I could say is a difference, is the amount of traffic in Wilmington.
Amen to that, my friend.
Beach towns. It's crazy. I took Senator Rabin went with me Wednesday night, and we were fortunate enough. We live close enough to the ferry that we took the Fort Fisher ferry over. So that saves me. If I have to drive from my house in Southport to Curry Beach, it takes me about an hour and 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So whenever the ferry's running, we definitely support our state ferry system. But that's probably one of the biggest differences is the amount of traffic in Wilmington versus what I'm used to here in Southport. I'm not saying traffic's bad, not perfect here in Southport or in Brunswick County. There is a lot more traffic here in the county now, but it's nothing like Wilmington.
We're going to catch up with the traffic, though, because they're going to close the bridge on Sunday. That should fix the traffic problem.
Sir. Yes, sir. And I'll remind you that bridge is in Representative Eiler's district.
Well played.
Golf clap on that one, my friend. Well done.
Yeah.
With regard to traffic, because as someone who has to navigate it all the time, and setting aside the city of Wilmington, just talking about the southern part, I call it the pizza pie, as Wilmington area is.
Right.
The southern part of it, I've seen a tremendous growth in the amount of traffic going over the bridge, as we all call it.
Sure.
Is there any? There's not really a lot of room to expand. Is there anything that can be done long term? Because we're growing at an intense pace.
I know the DOT. Chad Kimes is a phenomenal person that works for DOT as our district engineer. He's so responsive, him and his team, and they are constantly looking at ways to either reroute or expand or whatever to make it better. I get emails all the time about the traffic or intersections in Hanover County, and they're very responsive in trying to fix those and make it better and safer. Safety is the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. And he stays on top of that really well. So as future expansion, yeah, they're always looking. They're always looking to make it better.
Charlie, I know that, I don't think many of the listeners know your background, but, you were on the school board for a number of years, but prior to that, you were also the chief deputy for Brunswick County. And you want to talk
Yeah,
a little bit
I
about
was.
the jobs you've kind of done in that area?
Yeah, I actually started with the sheriff's office in 1987, and I left in '01 and went to work at Progress Energy as a nuclear security specialist here in Brunswick at the Brunswick nuclear plant. And I went back to the sheriff's office in '08 when Sheriff Ingram was appointed and became his chief deputy, and just retired about a year and a half ago. During that term, I actually served on the school board here in Brunswick County from '06 up until I went to the General Assembly 3 years ago. I actually had to resign my seat on the school board. I was midterm, and that's where we're at now, is in North Carolina House. So long career in public service.
Why don't we talk about, let's talk a little bit about the Republican Party and the successes they've had in Raleigh in the last decade and change. And I know you were part of it, you weren't there for all of it, but you're a major part of the last few years.
Yeah, the last 3 years of I was very fortunate to come in when we had the majority, or have the majority, and now we have the super majority this term. But North Carolina is really in good shape, and I hear stories from Senator Raven, Senator Berger, and other folks that's been there much longer, and Representative Eiler and Davis, all of them, of how bad a shape the state was in several years ago until the Republicans was able to get the majority. And once that happened, things started to turn around. And now we're sitting on a probably a 10 or $12 billion surplus.
Is it that high?
We're in really good shape. The state's in really good shape, and it's because of the leadership and the cuts that had to be made to put us in that shape. And North Carolina right now is the #1 state in the country for business, and that's something we're really proud of. We have a lot of business want to come every year to North Carolina, and that says a lot for us.
Talking on that with those numbers, you've been part of the lowering of taxes, because I think when the Republicans first took over, it was almost 8% income tax on our people, and it's now below 4%. And and I think people need to understand that that's been, and yet we still raise all the money we need to run the place, and we managed to surplus $10 billion. Right. Now, the question I would ask you is to tell our listeners, why is it important to have that kind of a surplus?
Oh, I mean, we live here on the coast where we have hurricanes, and once a bad hurricane comes through and puts people out of their homes, we need that kind of money to help those folks get back on their feet, as well as rebuild infrastructure, government buildings, anything we can do, roads. It could take all that money in just one storm if we're not careful. So, it's really important to plan ahead and have those things in place. And I actually went about a year and a half ago. There was a rock slide in the mountains of North Carolina, and I went there to tour that with the speaker and some other folks and support Representative Ples that was there. Here on the coast, we have time to plan for hurricanes. We can know 2-3 weeks in advance that we have a chance of getting one, and we have time to plan and get things ready. But in the mountains, they had no planning. It was just a huge rain event. A mountain gave way, hit a campground at the bottom, killed 6 people, and just absolutely devastated the town of Canton, North Carolina. And it was amazing to see the destruction that only lasted a few minutes. And that's what I'm getting, as that fund is to help folks like that recover. So they have issues in the mountains just like we do here on the coast. So we've got to be really careful and save the money to have it for all areas of the state when an event happens.
Am I right when I say that another reason for having that kind of money is, though you do get FEMA support, it takes a while for FEMA money to start. If we have our own money right away, we can get started earlier and sooner and get it done quicker.
That's exactly right. And while we're waiting on the FEMA reimbursements, we're able to house folks and get them back on their feet before we can get the federal dollars in here.
Charlie, you had mentioned earlier, talking about the business and how North Carolina is #1. One of the issues that I hear about all the time, specific to New Hanover County, but also Brunswick, is it's a tough cost of living right now for a lot of people. The jobs don't seem to match that. I hear it all the time myself. It's like I don't make enough to afford to live. What are we doing as a state to try and help those people? Because I mean, let's face it, we're primarily a retail / service industry here. Not a lot of manufacturing, and I don't know that that's even plausible at this point. But any thoughts on what we can do to help that and help those people?
Well, the economic development team at the state is constantly working to bring in new factories, and I know that Representative Eiler and our commissioners here in Brunswick County worked really hard not long ago to bring a big manufacturing plant, and I can't remember the name of it, up on 74, 76. It's going to provide a lot of jobs, and I think the starting salary is somewhere around $52,000.
Nice.
So North Carolina is always trying to bring in new industry, and that's where it takes our county leaders and working with us and the state to advocate and lobby for these industries in their counties.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm originally from New York, and they're hemorrhaging manufacturing and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I do know one of the reasons I moved to North Carolina, I am a small business owner, was because of the attractiveness of the opportunity for business, and trying to assess where to put things, because if you look at Wilmington or Cape Fear in general, it's very service oriented. Obviously, we're beach towns and stuff like that, and trying to navigate that has to be difficult. And I'm sure you probably hear a lot about it.
It is, and to be honest with you, I want an Amazon in Brunswick County. The big warehouse. Those type of things bring a lot of jobs and good paying jobs, but getting back to the factories and stuff, I mean, we're constantly talking about that in Raleigh and trying to lure folks here to North Carolina, and me specifically to Brunswick, New Hanover County. I work real close with Ted Davis and Michael Lee in New Hanover County, and even Deb Butler, who's a Democrat. I will reach across the aisle to her and get her opinions, and she does me too. So, we all have to work together when it comes to providing for our districts.
You bring up an interesting point that's something to explore. We all know the rancor at the national level between the two parties trying to work together, or at least the perception of it. But it doesn't seem to be like that in North Carolina. You guys do seem to reach across the aisle quite a bit. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, we do. I do. I always treat the other side of the aisle with respect, and when they're up speaking on the floor, I listen. And because their opinion to them is just as important as mine to me. I don't have to agree with them, but we don't get ugly and do things that you see on a national level. Do we always agree? Absolutely not. We very seldom agree unless it's something to do with what we're talking about, business or industry or bringing jobs to North Carolina. When it comes to other issues, abortion or transgender issues, stuff of that nature, save women's sports, they were not with us on that. So there's going to be things that they do agree with and things that they don't, and I respect their opinion.
But to your credit, like we said, you don't see that rancor. You respect each other. You have rigorous debate. I think that's a fair thing to say, but it's never absolutely personal. I've never honestly seen it become personal.
No. I've seen some emotions on the floor on both sides, but I've never really seen it become personal, and everybody treats each other pretty much with respect most of the time. And I think that's the way you need to do it. That's the way you do business. You can agree to disagree.
If only we could get that everywhere, right? So
absolutely.
So the rest of the country needs to follow North Carolina's lead on that.
Well, we agree on that completely.
We actually agreed on something, Bill.
That's that's another.
That's a first time ever.
See what he's done? He's actually Charlie got us agreeing, which is a good start.
That's good.
Real quick, Charlie. Assuming you guys do what we planned on having, is keep the supermajority, get everybody back to where they needed to be. What are the long-term plans for the party, for the state, in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I think what's on everybody's mind right now is the 2024 elections. we've got to keep the supermajority. We're at 72 now, and I'm hoping we'll come back in around 75, 74. So that's really what's on folks' mind, what's on our mind right now. And, we're out raising money for our caucus. And, that's the hardest part of doing this is having to raise money.
Yeah.
And ask people for the money, especially the way the economy is right now with folks. There's a lot of folks struggling, and it makes it very difficult to raise the money that you need to raise to help protect that supermajority.
I think we've reached that point where we're
Take
getting
our
a
first
signal
break.
there for a break.
Yep. All right, we're getting the old.
We're getting at break time, so we're going to pause for a minute to pay a few bills, and we'll be right back.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Reclaiming America, where our guest is Charlie Miller.
Representative Miller from the 19th District.
Thank you for adding that. Go ahead, Bill. We're so
Charlie, there's a lot going on in Raleigh as we talk and as what's going to happen in the next run. Who do you see being the next Speaker of the General Assembly of the House?
Yeah, that's a good question, Bill. Speaker Moore, who has been phenomenal,
Yes.
is bowing out, and he is actually running for Congress up in his district. And we're going to miss him and his leadership. But we have a good young man by the name of Destin Hall, who is actually our rules chair right now, and he is probably going to be the front runner in that race. He just spent the day with me yesterday here in Southport, actually, and the day before. So that's who I'll be supporting, is Destin Hall. And I think once he becomes Speaker and vacates the rules chair office, I think you'll see our majority leader, John Bell, in that seat. So those two together is going to be a phenomenal team for all of North Carolina, but especially us in the House.
And what part of the county from the state is he from?
He is from Caldwell County. He's a practicing attorney there. And, myself and my best friend up there is Representative Reese Pirtle, who's a representative in Rockingham County. He's also retired law enforcement, retired police chief from Eden, actually. Every time Destin stands up to speak on the floor, me and Reese just look at each other and say, that's the smartest man in the room. So he's a fine young man, and just got married a month ago, and he is excited to take over that role and is doing the groundwork now, and I think he's going to be phenomenal.
He's got mighty big shoes to fill.
He does, but he's been working closely with the Speaker for years, and Destin is definitely ready to take on the role.
What do you see as his agenda in 2025 at that point? What would be his focus?
Well, right now his focus is traveling the state. He left from my event on yesterday and headed to New Bern. He's traveling all over the state to DEFA representatives' events to make sure we secure and keep the supermajority, and he's helping raise money in all these counties all over the state. So he's working hard already, and once he gets in that position, he'll work even harder to make North Carolina better than it is now. So he's, like I said, I told you, he's a phenomenal guy. I think the world of him. Very smart man, and he's going to do great.
We were talking earlier about the budget. You want to talk to people about a little bit what's in the budget and projects that have been going on that they might not know about?
Yeah, that's like when I had Destin here yesterday, we rode around and I showed him some of the projects that had either been completed or, was starting or on the next month or so would be starting, that we had funded in some of my requests. And, he really liked seeing that. The dams at Bowling Spring Lakes was a huge thing for myself and Senator Raven. We got, I think it was $14 million, our first budget 2 years ago. And we got another $8.4 million in this budget for them. So they've got all the money they need to complete those dam reconstructions, and looking forward to seeing water back in the big lake of Bowling Spring Lakes, as well as, I know a lot of the residents that live on that lake are very excited. So we were able to do that without them having to put the costs on the back of the residents. So we're very proud of that. Hold'em Beach got about $6.9 million for infrastructure projects, a new water tower, different things. Oak Island, a couple $1 million for They make their beaches federal matches. They got some pedestrian crosswalks. And one program that I'm really proud of that we were able to fund was it went through the New Hanover County Chamber of Commerce. It was $2.8 million. And what it is a 10-month program for all seventh grade public school students in New Hanover County for a federally match. It's a CTE program that teaches them a trade in seventh grade. And I actually went over and hung out at a construction facility or site a few weeks ago, and they busted in a bunch of seventh graders, and they were showing them all aspects of that construction, every job there on that site. It was an amazing program, and New Hanover County is piloting that program, and we hope to be able to expand that, in the very near future. In Curry Beach, we were able to do about $3 million. They're building a new public utility building. And, there's just projects like that throughout the entire district that we were able to help with and get some funding for. But, probably the absolute biggest project that myself and Senator Raven worked really hard on with the town of Southport and the county commissioners here in Brunswick County. Right now, the city of Southport has their own water and sewer. And, they buy capacity from the county and they buy the water from the county, but the cost to the end user, the citizens of Southport, was just astronomical. And they were running out of capacity, so we were able to secure $35 million and give that to Brunswick County. And what that means is Brunswick County is going to take over the water and sewer for the city of Southport. And that's going to reduce the rates here in town and to the citizens anywhere from 30 to 50%.
I heard that.
So that was huge. I'm very excited to be able to do that, and that'll take the city of Southport out of the water and sewer business, and have a dramatic reduction in the rates to the citizens.
You talked earlier about some work you did in Carolina Beach. You want to expand on that a little bit with the help you've given them?
Yeah, Carolina Beach, we have a park there that's almost done. It's called the Brandy Myers Memorial Park, after a little girl that lost her life to cancer several years ago. And that's $1 million project. We were able to get $2 million to dredge the lake last budget. We were able to do some road work on Dow Road with some turning lanes and different crosswalks and things like that. But, going back to all these towns, every budget cycle, the first thing I do when we start a budget cycle is I sit down and I call every town manager and every mayor in my district and say, okay, do you have a list of things that you think we may be able to help with or you're requesting some help with? And then we'll prioritize those requests and hopefully try to fund some in every town we have in our district. And that's what we do. It's not just one town here or over there. We try to spread it out throughout the district, and it's been very successful in doing that.
What are some of the things that they're asking for, Charlie, just out of curiosity?
Mainly the stuff is infrastructure. At Curry Beach was the new public utilities building. Here in Brunswick, again, the $35 million for the water and sewer. There's upgrades to sewer lines in towns, and it's really mainly infrastructure. And then, at Oak Island, there was some crosswalks, and in the first budget, we were able to get $20 million for beach renourishment. So, it can go from beach renourishment to infrastructure to fire departments. Our volunteer fire departments here in Brunswick County, I had 5 that I was able to get $1 million each for this last budget. So, not all fire departments have the tax base with their fire fees that others do. So, your more rural fire departments need more help, and that's what we were able to do this time. So we're really excited to be able to help them with $1 million each.
Yeah, infrastructure, I got to believe, is one of the top priorities. What about education, both locally and at the state level?
A
lot of debate on that, but
not much as far as the budgetary items. I'm not too involved with that. I was on the education committee in my first session. I was not on the education committee this session, but I have a really good relationship with the school board here, and they'll call me with different issues, not as much with money, but with policy and laws that are coming out, and we keep a really good dialogue with them. And they come to Raleigh and advocate for Brunswick County and all of North Carolina, really, when it comes to policy and and laws that are changing. So there's been a lot of those. The Parental Bill of Rights was a huge huge bill that came out this past session, and there was a lot of opposition to that. But we stay in constant contact with our school boards in New Hanover and Brunswick.
I'll talk about the Parental Bill of Rights. I want to give you another golf clap for getting that done, because it is, the opposition, I understand their points, but parents need to be made aware of things, and that they're ultimately the ones who should be making these decisions. And I applaud you and everyone involved for getting that done.
Well, I'll tell you this: Senator Michael Lee led the charge on that.
That's right,
County Senator over there, and he is phenomenal when it comes to education issues, and he actually led the charge and did a really good job with that. But you're right. I mean, parents need to know what's going on in the classroom, and what's kind of disheartening is some of the school systems, and I won't name which ones, but there's a lot across the state that's taking it a little too far and kind of bucking the law, where my legal name is Charles, but everybody calls me Charlie. So and some of these classrooms are saying, okay, you can't be called Charlie no more. I have to call your parents. Your name is Charles. So they're doing that just to go against us is what they're doing. And I have a feeling in the short session we're going to address some of those things.
That's just lunacy. I'm sorry, I got to say
It is.
It's
It
just
is.
lunacy. I mean, again, you may not like the way the situation is, but to go to that level, it's petty, to be blunt.
Yeah,
But
exactly. And they're just picking the bill apart and just going up against it, and that's their way of doing it. But
When
that's,
you talk,
that's,
Charlie, when you
that's
talk
the
about
world we live
education,
in.
it is
Yeah,
the world we live in. You're
it
right.
is true. When you talk about education, I think the Republican Party gets a bad rap about not funding education and about not supporting teachers along that line. And the exact opposite. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and you know better than I do, how many times that a budget that the Republicans voted in to give teachers a raise was killed because the governor couldn't get Medicaid expansion. So you want to address that a
Right.
minute?
Yeah, I've heard that. The first session I was in, he did not sign the budget, and that was because of that. But from what I've been told, since he's been in office, he's only signed one budget, and all the previous ones had teacher raises in it.
Yes, that's
But
true.
he was holding out for various things to try to strong our legislature to do the
One of his
Medicaid
brighter
thing.
statement was, "It's not enough money, so I'll give you nothing rather than give you the 3 or
The
2%."
logic,
Which,
yeah.
there's a logic
Yeah.
there, which I love.
But I can honestly say, sitting in all these meetings, and whether it's on the floor or in committee meetings, whatever, I don't know of out of 120 that don't support teachers up there. Everybody supports teachers. My daughter's a teacher, and there's only so much money to go around, Bill.
That's true. And
And,
people
you
don't
know-
realize that well over 50% of the state budget goes to education from K to 16.
Absolutely does. It's about 52%, I think. And that's out of $29 billion. Billion.
Yep.
When I first saw my first budget, I thought, how in the world can you read all this? And there's no way to read the state budget, the entirety of it. There's two very thick books, sometimes three. But anyhow, and that's why you trust your committee and your other legislators that are on these committees to do the right thing. That's just like with me. I'm on JPS. I'm a chair of JPS, Justice and Public Safety, and myself and 2 retired sheriffs and a police chief chair that committee. And when we put together the budget and our recommendations, other legislators trust us enough to vote for it, and that's what I do with other areas of the budget. So it's a big operation, big business.
It is big business and very successful on a part of the state Republican Party and even the county ones in most of those places like ours in Brunswick and to an extent New Hanover. We won't go there. But I have to be nice on my side of the
Charlie, we pick on each other because
we
I'm
have
on
a
one
lot of
side of
fun.
the river, he's on the other.
and we're going to keep it that way.
I'm on the good side.
Hey.
And you're, no, I'm only kidding.
I remember when Bill was on your side, Rick.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, we got rid of him.
Yeah,
We couldn't get rid of him fast enough.
they shipped me over.
That's why we're fixing the bridge now, so he can't get back.
Oh, is that what's happening? Is that what the deal is?
That's
Now
it.
I understand.
That's
Anyway,
Yeah.
Charlie, before we wrap it up, I'm going to give you a chance. You've been a leader in change and what's happening and taking care of the 19th district and districts around us. I want to give you a chance to just say whatever you'd like for re-election and whatever you'd like to talk to the people about.
Yeah, it's tough running every 2 years, but that's just the way you have to do it. And I've been in public service my whole life, enjoy serving, and I have two ladies that work with me in my office. I call them my coworkers, Natalie and Maddie, and we're there to serve the folks of District 19 and all of the state of North Carolina. So if you need to get a hold of us, my email is charles.miller@ncleg.gov. And my phone number is 919-733-5830. Please call, email, every day, Monday through Friday, those girls are there. They call me every day and tell me what's going on. And if we have any constituent issues, and we take pride in answering every email and every phone call before we leave every day. So we take it very serious. And, we listen to everybody. We don't just listen to the Republicans or Democrats in our district. We listen to everybody. So if you have an issue in District 19, we urge you to call and let us try to help. That's what we're there for.
Again, Representative Miller from the 19th Congressional District, we thank you for talking to us. And please don't be a stranger. Come back as often as you'd like to, or if anything special you want to tell us, just give us a yell.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good weekend.
Thank
You as
you.
well.
Enjoy your weekend and say hello to the family.
I'll do it. Thank you.
Well, welcome back to the final segment of Reclaiming America. And we've had a great one so far. We want to thank again Representative Miller from the 19th District.
Get it right,
And maybe
Bill.
I'm looking for
I
his
was going to
future.
say, did you just let something out of the bag for about 10 years ago?
No, I
10
don't
years
think
from
so.
now?
But I know he's got aspirations, but I don't
he
think
would
it's at
be.
that level.
You know what? He would
He'd
be
be a good one.
fantastic.
He would be a
He
good
would
one.
be fantastic.
But I know his aspirations, and it's not that direction at this point.
That's
But
'cause he's a very smart man.
But he did a great job for us. He said a lot of great things, and it's worth listening to what he said because he's a good man.
Right.
And I would also support him on both counties because in both sides of that water, he's done a great job for all of us. Anyway, we need to get into something more important right now,
We're gonna have
which
some
is
fun now.
which is a new version of the Alamo.
Or Fort Sumter, depending on how it goes.
Yeah. Or what we have now is we have a Texas governor who's put some people down on the border to stop the invasion. According to his constitution, he's allowed to do that. According to the federal constitution, he's allowed to do that too. However, we have a governor, we have a president who has given him until 1 o'clock today, which is already
As we're
past
filming.
our time.
Yeah.
Right, as
3
we were
days ago.
filming, to turn it all over and back off. And the last word I heard from him was no.
Wait a minute, you left something out, though.
Yes, sir.
You left out that SCOTUS backed Biden on it.
Yeah, that's with Miss Coney
Who?
Barrett and the liberal head justice.
All of a sudden, they like her. Yeah, 4 years ago,
Yeah, they hated her guts.
she was the second coming of Satan, and now she's
Now she's one of the women. And all of a sudden, notice the Democrats are now telling Republicans, you need to follow the direction of the Supreme Court. And listen
amazing
to
how that
it
is.
didn't
Yeah.
do it for anything else that the Supreme Court has said, to include handing out free money to the people that went to college for the abortion issues. They don't want to listen to that. But for this one, we should all follow the rules.
When I saw that ruling come out, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And honestly, I'm certainly not, a constitutional scholar. I've studied it, but I'm certainly not at her level. But how she could vote that way is beyond me.
Well, don't forget the Chief Justice joined her.
He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Has been since 2006 or so. When he
I
came
don't
in.
think he was a wolf. I think as a wussy is a better term. Because I think what I want to know is what do they got on him?
That is a very good point, because when you step back and look at it, we are talking about an invasion of our country. This goes the legal route, and they're saying to Texas, no, you have to stand by and let yourselves be invaded. That's essentially what it is.
So what the SCOTUS is telling the world is that the President of the United States is going to stand down people who are defending our country and protecting it from invasion in favor of illegal aliens coming across the border.
That's yeah. And then, to...
Oh, shouldn't I say illegal aliens? I'm sorry, illegal aliens.
It was nice seeing y'all. We're about to get banned. To Abbott's credit, he basically went "F you" to the SCOTUS.
And the horse you rode in on.
You know, it's a horrible situation.
Now, what you are looking at is this. You know, he's brought the Texas National Guard down there, and you know we all know that the president can federalize that guard and turn them into his troops. So that's to be seen.
Well, we were talking about that off air beforehand,
Right.
and you and I disagree slightly on how the response would be to that.
I will defend your right to be wrong.
2 words: Dallas Cowboys. Enough said. I knew I'd get him with that one. Yeah, you know, as you mentioned, the Texas National Guard has been mobilized, and many of them sent to the appropriate areas. Razor wire was put back up. Yeah, and we were talking off air before we went on about all of this, and our producer Greta said, I think it quite eloquently, we are one small match
From a major
from
boom.
a major explosion of nightmarish proportions.
By the way, just one side note: if he federalizes all those people, he now has to pay them.
Bill, he's added $2 trillion in the last year.
Yeah, but it could grow his budget
and
out
the
of whack.
people in Congress are doing the same. Just go and give him a blank check. He's got no problem paying them. You know,
You know, but there are a number of states that have come out and
that's
said,
what
we
I was about
support
to
you and we're
mention.
going to send our soldiers down there to back you up. Now, that would also be interesting though, because if he federalizes the Texas Guard and the rest of the guard's not federalized, they could use those other guards to defend the border. Would be an interesting battle.
Let's hope there's not a battle.
Well, let's say a verbal battle.
And my worry is it'll go from verbal to full-on civil war in a matter of minutes.
As our extremely bright producer told us, that just think about the possibilities of either a cartel member firing the first shot which starts it, or even one of these crazy leftists that will take a shot. And we all know that's how Kent State started. A shot was fired, and then people responded.
That's how Fort Sumter basically started. I mean, it wasn't a declaration of war. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, but you know,
History is repeating itself, just in a different location.
well, maybe we can go back to Fort McHenry and sing a song about it too.
You know, setting aside the negatives of the Confederacy, but they were putting forth, trying to, in their minds, protect themselves. Federal government showed up, said, nope, you're doing it our way. It's no different than what's happening in Texas.
And they basically said, no, we're not.
I genuinely fear, and we've talked about this many times, and as you said, and the point I was going to make as well is, last I knew there was somewhere around 8, 9 states have already backed.
And I think it may be
Texas.
as high as 11.
And I was laughing because, South Dakota,
Has become
I was
part of the
telling Bill this
Confederacy.
off the air. So, I was watching videos, and there was this video about this person talking about how South Dakota was part of the Confederacy back in the Civil War when the state didn't even exist. And it just shows you their mindset, because obviously it's because the word South is in their name, that they think this way. Lunacy again, but with those states backing, Texas does have the right to secede
In their constitution.
in their constitution. Now,
And it's
some
the
would argue
only
that
state that has it in their constitution.
others would argue, though, that's not a valid thing anyway. But Texas being Texas, they aren't going to care. They're going to do whatever the hell they want. And then does Florida, South Dakota, the host of states that are supporting them,
Tennessee.
join them? This could snowball just like happened in 1860 in a matter of days.
And Biden is the head of it. Well, he's one end of it. I'm not sure it's the head. But he is definitely the person that's going to make the call. And unfortunately, he's going to do the wrong call because he's famous at doing the wrong call.
Bill, he's not going to make any call. He doesn't. He's putting for brains. It's whoever
Pulling
is
the
in
strings.
charge. We don't know. My fear, and I'm going to throw this out as a conspiracy theory. I'll label it that way. Is this is planned? If this blows up, it gives the Democrats, whether it's Biden or whomever, a lot of power to go, well, the country's in trouble. I'm going to suspend the elections.
I'm telling you, if that happens, the word revolution will be
I'm
out there.
just going to point out that that's exactly what Zelensky did
they may try.
in Ukraine.
Well, they may try. I agree.
He stopped the elections. Again, it could replay. To your point, though, it ain't gonna fly with most people.
It ain't going to fly at all.
But where we end up with it, shooting war.
To be determined.
Shooting war at that point. I mean, I'm sorry, that's a line that they suspend the election. With all they've done to Trump, as bad as it is to try and block him at every level, including his own party, by the way, dipshit Haley, sorry I said it, with all her crap. It's, as our producer said, we are sitting on a powder keg. The match is lit. It just hasn't been tossed. That would be the final straw.
But the good news is Biden is bringing over some more ammunition and stuff to put closer to the match. He's bringing it to the match.
When they blow this up, they're going to really
this is
blow
going
it
to
up.
be bad news.
But the conspiracy theory that's been out there is that's the plan, and that ends the Constitution.
Yeah, again, we've talked before about the fact that we have a lack of conspiracy theories because they've all been proven true. So we do need a couple of new
I think
ones.
we're up to 50-0 now, but so what do we do? I mean, as average Joes here, we have no control over what's happening in Texas. What can we do?
Not much. We just have to watch and see how it unfolds and then react accordingly. But
and my answer is buy food, buy water, buy ammunition. That's basically what we can do.
save your Dixie cups. The South will rise again.
Oh, you're going to get us so in trouble for that one? Really?
Yeah, sure.
Dude, you did not just say that.
I didn't. He's a ventriloquist.
He did not mean that the way it came across.
But
Even I got to call you out on that one.
yeah,
I get your point. Don't get me wrong.
the
But
bottom line is going to be you're going to end up. We've been talking on and off for a year now how this country is going to be divided down, and it's going to be the South, the Northeast, and maybe the West. And you're probably going to see the South going right up the middle of this country into this own
South
country.
Dakota's already jumped in, so it's going to go right up the middle, up to Mississippi, basically.
And you're going to see an issue here, and you're going to end up having a situation, as I see it, almost like India and Pakistan. You'll have two countries on either side of the border, on either side of the country, and in the middle will be a different country. So, but it's happening, and the danger of it happening has been pushed up by 10. The factor is up by 10.
Remember the old doomsday clock, and we were at
it
like
was always
what
at
was
5 minutes of
5 minutes or whatever. We're at about 5 seconds of,
and running.
and yeah, like a train down a track. It's the worst is yet to come too, because
I'll give you another thing.
Go ahead.
Let's suppose Dippy Doodah, who's sitting and having his ice cream on the beach,
Doodah. That's a new one.
now authorizes Governor Abbott to be arrested.
Oh dear God, Bill.
I'm just taking you to the next logical
man.
place. If he's disobeying you, you take out the leadership. I mean, that's what you do. But there's a possibility. They go down and they go try to arrest
part
Abbott.
is, I could see it happening as soon as tomorrow.
It's a possibility.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
We only have a couple minutes left, but let me put it to you this way, and I mentioned it to you off air. Did you ever imagine we'd reach this point in our lifetimes or any lifetime?
I didn't imagine last week we were at this point. So look at where we are now. This thing is just rolling like a snowball down a hill. It's you got your own cave-in coming with super snow, whatever else, and it's going to blow up very quickly. And some of the possibilities, they go after arrest Abbott.
It
The
really
country
doesn't matter what
rebels.
side you're on.
The Texans rebel, and they decide that they're not going to listen. I mean, we talked about the possibility, though I don't think it will happen, that the military, if they're federalized, saying hell no. That's a possibility.
I think
that is an option.
I think that will be the breaking point. There's so many things that will just tip us over the edge.
But also
it just
keep in
takes one.
mind, Texas is the home of several Army posts. And therefore, you've got
Air Force.
Yep. And they have the ability there to federalize it, move those troops out in a Philadelphia minute. Now, how they react, God will tell you.
And I remind you, our president has already gone on record saying he'd have no problem using F-15s.
Yeah, I heard that one. That was
Many
another one of
years
the bright
ago.
ones. Anyway, speaking
Wow.
of F-15s, we got to blast out of here.
F-35s now.
We only have 15 left. That's the thing.
Hopefully we're back next week. Who knows at this point?
And I can't wait to find out what happened.
Yeah, we may, any one of these weeks could be the last time you ever see or hear from us. Who knows? I mean, we're,
Either that or we'll be on location at the Alamo.
Of course, we're trying to be hyperbolic, but really not at this point.
Anyway.
It's scary. All right. Hey, if you like this, give us that like. If you follow us or you don't follow us, give us that follow. We're back here every week talking about topics that we really don't want to be talking about, but we have
But
to.
we have to because
to.
it's again out of our control. But we need to get you aware of the
It would be
possibility.
so nice to talk about something fun and nice, but it is what it is. All right. On that note, we'll close it down. We'll see you next time on Reclaiming America.
Have a good one, everybody.